Hi, I'm Richard Stradom. I'm the farm manager of the Hive EcoSystems farms here in the Somerset East District, and I look after pretty much everything. I have a nursery manager and a production manager under me, and we are a team of 40 locally sourced labour with a contractor that's in charge of them all. So this all started in August 2022. This was just a lucerne field. We had an outsourced company that came in and built this whole net structure, this nursery for us. They use these net structures often in the citrus industry and the vegetable industry. They put up these nets and this irrigation. Everything was worked out exactly how it should be for these specific plants. And just outside the nursery we have a container, and inside the container there's a computerized system with a pump and all sorts of other gadgets that get this irrigation working. It all works on solar power because we can't always rely on our service provider, so everything is green. We've also got a lot of mechanization. We've got a sifting machine. In the beginning it was just a metal mesh and the guys would manually sift it through a mesh. Now we've at least got an automated system, and we've got a soil mixer that mixes the soil on big scale. There's a lot of other things we have to learn about, is our soil mix ratios. Should we use more clay? Should we use more sand, more compost? All sorts of different tests were done, combinations were done to get the best medium for which these plants can grow in and flourish in actually. There's a lot of extra things that come, a lot of biological things that help root development that we add. One of them also being biochar. That's also a very important element in our soil mixture. But after that, there's a lot of manual stuff that needs to be done. That's where the labour comes in. Labour we source locally. We like to support our local town, that's Somerset East. 99% of our labour comes from the actual town. Our work is very physically demanding. So on a Monday we collect the people from Somerset East, we bring them out to the farm. We have a 23-seater bus and we make use of the local taxi service to bring out the remainder. So how we get all the cuttings for our nursery is just sourced on this very farm. There are areas of the farm that are intact speckworm thicket. Not the whole entire farm has been decimated, and we generally go to these areas to harvest our cuttings. We send a team out into the field of around 10 to 15 harvesters and with secateurs, and there's a team leader that takes care of that team, and their job is to bring us as many cuttings as they can. We provide them at this stage with bags that are actually meant for packing wool that we get from our local co-op, and that works very nicely for transporting our cuttings from the field to the nursery. Their responsibility with their team leader is to get us the best cuttings available. They can't just be anything, they have to be the right type of cuttings. In the nursery, we have two supervisors that supervise different areas of the nursery, the planting side and the soil side of things, filling the seed trays and so on. Then when we are in the field, mostly all of the staff are in the field and there's a few supervisors looking after them, and there will just be a handful left in the nursery with our nursery manager that are providing the stock. They literally sit here and unplug every single rooted cutting from these trays and stack them to go off to the field. When we started planting, the first idea was to break up 30 guys into teams of 3, 10 teams of 3, and give them a 50 meter by 50 meter block and give them a set number of plants they need to plant in that area and a set number of blocks to plant per day. It was a bit challenging in the beginning because supervision isn't so easy when people are scattered all over the place. And each team was working at their own pace. We quickly realized that we need to change things up a bit, and we decided to get everybody together and make a long line and plant together with 2 meter spacings in between. We'd have the line led by 10 guys using picks, and behind them would be the runners. They're the guys that are carrying the crates and putting the plants out. And behind them, the planter comes. He's got a little spade in his hand, and he takes out the soil, puts the plant neatly in the ground, as neat as possible, and cover it up and just stomp it down a little bit so that it doesn't just flop over as he goes.
Right, so here's a plant that we planted, I think about September last year, September, October. So it's about 4 months in the ground. And since then we haven't had rain. But when we planted it, this was quite wet. We had a good winter, wet winter. And this plant is doing very well. It's actually got new growth. It's very dry at the moment, but the moment it gets a bit more rain, it will go. It will grow nicely again. This plant was also, it had a bit of a bigger a cavity. The planting tray cavity was slightly bigger, and that helps us to get a strong plant in the ground. And even with this 4 months of drought now, it's still doing very well. And with the first rain, this plant will prosper. So in a way, what we're doing here is a pilot project, also for the neighboring farmers to learn what can be done. And in this case, we also now involve Living Lands, who got some funding from a private company to also come and help and look at how can we resolve some of the erosion problems we got on this property. Obviously, the planting of a lot of plants will help with addressing the erosion, but there's so much more you can do to stop erosion, to the unnecessary loss of sediment out of the system. Currently, all our river systems, our riparian areas, are conduits for sediment. They're not rivers anymore because they're all incised by 2 to 3 meters. So we want to build up that sediment and hold that back in the landscape, but also holding the water back, so the water can then filter out of the system over a much longer period of time. With a thunderstorm currently in this area, you get flash floods with a lot of sediment just leaving the landscape and leaving a dry system behind. If we can hold back, like in the old days before all of this erosion took place, hold some of that water back, it will also benefit the plants. It will also help the biodiversity, because now the plants that used to occur here, that's disappeared in the meantime, we can try and put it back into the environment. So that's once again the holistic approach to restoration.
So currently our project is scattered over 20,000 acres or 8,300 hectares of land. And we believe we can expand that to millions of hectares of land in the Eastern Cape. So that is how much land is degraded and needs to be restored. So using our model and using the carbon credits that come with the model, we believe we can create a truly sustainable environment, not only that it produces revenue, but it also improves the environment, and not only for carbon sequestration and oxygen into the atmosphere, but also to fix the water courses, to ensure that water flows are more sustainable, that topsoil is not washed away, that we stop desertification of this beautiful area in the Eastern Cape and the areas around. So it's a really sustainable, long-lasting model.
In 5 years' time, I hope to see that this project has fulfilled our objectives and that we've achieved our goal in sequestrating carbon.
With this opportunity, and it's really a good opportunity that we've got here, and with the motivation and financial resources of Hive, that we can do this fantastic work, which is my passion, and that we can restore big chunks of land in the landscape to bring the natural environment back and to get your ecological services back. Imagine having running rivers again with clean water and beautiful riparian vegetation. And I hope to see that in my lifetime still on this property, that we can get a functioning natural thicket biome back in. So that's my dream. Hopefully before I die, I will see what will happen on this farm in the next 30 years, which will be fantastic in 30 years' time to say, well, I had a part in that. And that's a great opportunity to have towards the end of my career.